So I will start with myself. My name is Francois Freed. I work for Crowley Maritime. I am a senior security analyst there. I've been there for 3 years. I run our vulnerability management program. I help coordinate external penetration tests and then handle a bunch of other things. But I'll say leave it at that. Those are my two main priorities. Kind of a lot of hands everywhere else too. But I'll be presenting today. The main topic will be on Backdoors and Breaches, which is a tabletop exercise game. If you're not familiar with a tabletop exercise, it's to simulate a scenario to assess how a team would respond. So we're going to run that. And Backdoors and Breaches is a game that was created to help teams run that. So you have like scenarios, and it helps you kind of start those conversations and figure out how your team is. You can customize it a lot uh, to shape whatever scenario you're trying to train your team on, but it's really good to assess how would your team respond. Because obviously when there's a live incident, it's not the time to figure it out. Like, oh, what will we do in this scenario? It's kind of like, we need to do this. So it helps you train. Honestly, it's a good training tool even if you're not in security. So just because they're mentioning it, running some of those scenarios will help your logic, which is what today is going to be all about. We're going to run through a scenario that I kind of put together, and then we're just going to, look at the logic around it. How would we assess all of this and try to solve this? There's a game component. It can be kind of considered to the game runs similarly to Dungeons and Dragons in a way. If you're familiar with that, you have me that creates the scenario, and I walk you through that scenario. We have a 20-sided dice that we play. Depending on, if you roll a high number or low number, then even if you potentially had the correct guess, you would fail based on what you roll. So there's that component. And then the goal is to figure out all four of these top cards, which is the initial compromise, the pivot and escalate, the C2 and exfil, and the persistence within 10 tries. You have 10 dice rolls, attempts, and then you'll have to flip all four of these cards within that. If you end up rolling a low number on all of them, then you lose, but if you roll a high number for the first four and you guess the first four correctly right away, you could win in four. So you have 10 to guess it. You most likely will, guess it before 10, but maybe it'll be on the last one. Who knows? You never know. But so that's kind of the game. There's an online version, fully free, and it's with here maybe Black Hills Security. Uh, yeah, it says it. Yeah. So right here, Black Hills Information Security. They are a company that run like they do pen tests for companies and different things like that, sort of like security offerings. Um, but they built this game really out of that. The online version is fully free. Nobody needs to pay a penny for all the packs they have, all the expansions. Right now, we're going to be working with their core deck, which is the most basic, but there's like a cloud one, there's a red canary one, there's all kinds of different versions. They do sell a physical version of the game, so if you want to run it, without, the computer component and looking at a screen, in my opinion, the physical is great if you're doing it with teams in person. Right now, obviously, it's larger audience, so we don't have like a round table. But I think it just, helps you disconnect a little bit from a computer all the time, and then it's nice just to have that physical component. So they do make decks. So like right now, like this is pretty much the this is the core deck, and then you have like expansion packs, which is like that's an expansion. It throws in more cards. Here I have like the incident response, like it's the Huntress expansion, which Huntress is a company, and then I have the Cloud Security expansion. There's a bunch of other expansion packs, but you can expand it based on like what you're trying to create a scenario on. If you want it to be on Cloud Security, then that would be a great pack to do because that's, more cloud security focused cards. Um, that's pretty much that. I can pass around these two just to if people want to look at it. But yeah, the card games are like the physical cards you have to pay for unless you're an educator. If you're an educator, you can request them for free. They are not really trying to, make a fortune off these cards. They're doing it because they had a need for themselves to kind of create the game, and then they decided to make it and kind of give it out to the community. So they hand those out a lot. I bought mine just, it's not like I needed them. Like, I don't know anyone that was handing them out. I wasn't gonna say I'm an educator or lie or anything. So these are it. And then they give you as well, like, consultant cards, which are these, and I'll share those. And those are, I'm not going to play them in this game just because it adds more complexity to it to keep it more simple. But it's just kind of saying, like, hey, can I phone a consultant? And they help me out with this scenario. So it's like a little kind of a bonus card. But I'll throw these and then feel free to look at them if you want. Uh, but it's just a great game, in my opinion. Obviously, it might not be everybody's cup of tea. Maybe you play a game with security, but I think it's just fun, and especially if I like playing it even outside of work personally. I just got to find the people to do it as well. But for team training, I think it's an excellent game in my opinion. So just to give you a little idea of what this looks like, so to help with the scenario. So these top cards right here, and I'm gonna flip them just so you see. This is what you're trying to guess. So I'm gonna flip all these. I have another scenario for this just to show you guys. But so these are the four cards you would try to guess. The way you would guess them is based on detection cards. So you would want to look at all of these cards, which I'll be able to expand if you ask, but hopefully you can see the title for most of them. And then I can expand them each card like this, and then it'll tell you pretty much what this card does. And then the typical tools for this action. So it gives you even insights into, like, if you're trying to learn about tools of, what to do in certain scenario, this is a good game for that too. A lot of the tools they provide are open source. I believe maybe all of them might be open source. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember. I haven't gone through all of the cards, but a lot of them are free. So it's really good just for training in general. But the goal is to pretty much, I'm going to walk you through this scenario, and you're going to decide which detection card you're going to want to use to help figure out the top four cards. So that's the main focus of this game. The one thing with this, so obviously there's the dice that you're going to have to roll. If you roll 11 or above, your guess can go forward. So if you pick, for example, active defense and cyber deception, which is the first card of detection, you roll 11, and this is the correct card to solve one of these cards, then we would flip that card over. If you roll under 11, like a 10 and below, then that would deny it, even if your guess was correct. And I won't tell you if the guess is correct or not, because obviously what it does though next, you can only use the same detection card after 3 tries. So you do it once, it's locked. It's locked for the next 3 attempts. So you have to be mindful of when you choose it. But for all of them, so if you can see, like, for example, this one, it tells you the ones that would solve it are these four. So these would be the four detection cards possible to help you solve this. This is the tools that you would use potentially to help discover this. So that's kind of how it works, the goal. But I'll kind of start it there, and then I pretty much use these tokens to, once you use that card, I will put it here, and then saying, like, now you can't use it, and then the next turn I'll move it here, and then do this, and then now you have, etc. until I get to pretty much your last attempt, and then freeze up that card again. But that's pretty much the game for the most part. I'll pause there just in case anyone has questions before we get started. Okay. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons either, but it's just the way that, people like to compare it because it runs very similarly. There's what you would call a incident handler, or like, which would be me in this, scenario where I'm helping guide you through this And then I know in Backdoors and Breaches, you have this person that, or not in Dungeons and Dragons, this pe person that recreates the scenario and walks you through it. Okay, 2 levels. So yes, so that is another part. So these four top cards add a point value to your die roll. So if you if you pick and I gotta
Something.
yeah, let me look it up again because I think it's 3 points more. Uh yeah, let me look it up because that's a good yeah, I forgot about that part. It's been a while. I haven't played the game, so let me see.
It's the same thing. It took a couple of months now. This is the same game they was playing the Stranger Things.
Yep. So yeah, I'll be creating that. Yeah. We'll fight a Demogorgon and
And you said the established detections. I see, what was the two differences between established and?
yeah, so they just I believe it's the established detections that give you extra points, if I remember correctly, which is what I'm trying to look up, but
They establish procedures, deal 4 random cards face up, and other procedures place the remaining procedures face up on below.
let me see. I can't find it again.
I think it says add. Oh, there it is. So once defenders have reached a consensus, they decide which procedure they'll attempt to roll the D20 and may only play one procedure per turn. Established procedures, the top row, they add a +3 modifier to the dice roll when it's played. These have an advantage as they indicate procedures that your team is very experienced with.
Yeah, so yeah, no, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, so the other procedures, they don't receive a modifier.
Yeah, so and
Okay.
the rule of this game, every card can be swapped out for anything that your team is trying to train on. So that's the thing is like the established detections, when you create this scenario, you tend to put real detection like cards for your environment. So it's saying these are things that we know we have in our environment. So that's why they gives you that +3 because we have the ability to detect via these methods. So that's kind of like for this, it's random. Obviously, we're not a real business, or unless we're creating a LLC right now and just starting it. But so that's pretty much how it works. But for this scenario, we can still play that and get the +3 on those top 4 cards just for the fun of it. But yeah, that's how it works. Thanks, appreciate it.
I couldn't remember what it was. I remember there was something special between the top row and the bottom row.
So now, let me just gotta close this out and drag this other one. Let me just,
Oh, oh, thank you.
take a picture of it.
Sorry.
Um, okay. So these are the cards we have to solve today. So let me pull the picture I just took just so I have them on my end. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so those are not the same cards that you just saw. Maybe one of them is. You know, you'll have to figure that out. So we're kind of gonna run off of a scenario that I'm gonna create. So the goal right now with this scenario that you're trying to solve, just gotta imagine that we're a small company. We have a small web app, that we use, and you I'll kind of maybe make it more since some of your students, we'll say it's used by students, by you guys, and it's used to submit schoolwork, check your grades or whatever, submit homework. So you pretty much, the IT team one morning discovers something. They see some unusual activity on one of the accounts for one of the person that created the website, one of the developers. Okay, so as is obviously you got to think you're not the student here. Just creating the website is just used for students to log in, submit homework, and then view their grades. You're part of the IT team, and you notice that there's some unusual activity with one of the developers' account that built this website. That is the starting scenario. Keeps it very vague, but that's where we start the conversation. What do we do now? What is our first? And there isn't like a right or wrong answer. There isn't necessarily like, this is what you need to do first, but where would you guys think that we should start investigating? So, yeah, and the cards can be guessed in different orders. You don't have to do like in that specific order. But we can start with initial compromise to try to figure out what is the initial compromise. And I think is a good method to start to follow the pattern of the cards, but you don't have to necessarily. You can play the game trickier to specific, saying like, we are currently only guessing the initial compromise. So any detection roll that you give me, if it happens to unlock another card, I would unlock. So you can play that level of difficulty, but we can keep it pretty simple for today, where that detection card, you pick it. If it unlocks any of the other cards, I will unlock it. Um, but yeah, you can go very specific. So it's up to you guys as a team to discuss how you would solve this issue and how to figure out what's happened. What's the story?
Also,
So you're, yeah, and I can click on any of these if you guys are interested to understand more what it does. Yeah, so just let me know which cards you're like interested in, and then I'll click it. The far left, crisis. This one? Okay, sim. Yep. Yeah, yeah. So that's where, yeah, makes it a lot easier. So sim.
So if we know, user, there's a fingerprint and signature of it.
Yep.
And you can take it to SIM and trace it, if you're aggregating enough of systems, trace activity pretty quickly through that.
Yep.
And typically, I think the SIM would have detections, automations, you might get alerts off of that, but just say there's no automations on that. You just pull it out.
Yeah. Agreed. Does anybody, have anything to add? And in a scenario, if you create this as a company, if your company doesn't have a SIM, that card is not there. Some companies don't have a SIM. You know, they may have logs from different sources, but they're not ingesting it into one area. So that is another thing that you gotta think, like maybe you can't use the SIM card, but you have to use, I believe there's another card that's for log analysis specifically. So you're going focused on where the logs for user activity is. Um, but yes, what I think you said is a very valid answer. Does anyone, and this is a team effort. So obviously somebody's got to, which card do we feel like we want to go with? And I think to make it more playful, maybe that's, I'm assuming, are we attempting the initial compromise one or are we attempting for another one?
So I feel like, you start with what's going on first.
Yeah, that's a very valid. Sometimes you discover something before, and that's how incident response happens. Sometimes you don't figure out, and that's why this game is very flexible how you run it. But sometimes you figure out that they're exfiltrating data already, and you don't know how they got in, but you already discovered that. So now you have to respond to this, but then we'll still figure out what was the source because they may be able to get back in if you shut that down, you know. So that's where incident responses kind of flows very differently depending on the incident. But we will go on the attempt that initial compromise is what we're trying to solve right now and figure out. And we're trying to do this via the SIM card. Is everybody in agreement with that?
I agree based on the, like, that, like, there's no other evidence that.
Yeah.
everything is an anomaly.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So now it's the rolling the dice part. So since I'll let anyone roll it, it sounds like you had a.
Oh, go for it.
So. This is not a +3.
Oh, crap.
So you need 11 or higher to make it a
12. 15. Oh, that's
15.
good enough.
All right.
So I'll leave it with you guys since
I'll give my guess first.
so that's a successful roll. Now the question, is it a successful card to flip one of them? So the first card we're trying to roll, and I'm kind of gonna play more on the card specifically, initial compromise. By using the detection method SIM, you have successfully managed to figure out what the initial compromise is. So now this is what we have. The initial compromise was via phishing. So this tells you,
Yeah, that was the other one that we,
User.
ABA.
yeah, so these are the other options that you could have like said, and then that would have flipped the card over. So for this scenario, so now it adds to the scenario. We know what was, at least what we discovered that was, compromised, which was this developer account, but we didn't know how. So now we know how. It was via phishing email. So the threat actor sent a phishing email to the organization. Obviously, the developer interacted with that email, which is fair. You're supposed to interact with emails, but if you're not familiar with them, you should maybe not click on them or, click a link or so in this scenario, just to follow along kind of the next steps. So we have this card, and these are the typical tools, like there be sim tools that you may be able to use, but I will remove this. Oh, using the wrong screen. So why is it? Oh, okay. I'll remove this. And now the SIM card cannot be used for the next 3 rolls. So from here, we have the initial compromise. So what was that email? How was it? Now we have the email technically because we figured out the initial compromise. So in this scenario, let's imagine because the account was compromised, what could it be? That type of email. Do you guys have any ideas? Just where the potential email that would have led to an account compromise. Like,
A little bit,
so what would have the bad actor what type of email would they have sent that would have allowed them to then take over that account?
Sometimes wrong with your account, like you have a security breach or something like that. And we need for you to
Click
send
this.
us, yeah, click this link for us to log in and fix your account.
And what would then the link send you to?
To a, like a typo squad or a misspelled their name.
That looks similar, but not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So they impersonated your company's login portal via Typo Squad. You then put your credentials in there thinking, oh, yeah. And then it was actually a credential harvesting site. Harvested all these username and password. In this scenario, we'll say that there's no MFA in place, you know, but if there is, you can still technically get, session tokens and like to help get access. So that's still feasible via that. I'm just removing that to lower the complexity of this. But they got the logins. So now via this site, they have it. So that's our initial compromise. Now we know simple, their account was taken over via an email. They put in their credentials. It's time to fire the employee now. No, I'm just kidding. Send them to training. No, send them to training. So now let's move on to the next phase of this. Now we know we have more information, but we need to go into the next phase of figuring out more about this because obviously we know they're in the account, but we don't know what they did from there. There's a lot to be discovered still. Are they still in their environment? Did they obtain any information? Did they go anywhere else? So we can switch to anything else, whichever card you guys feel like. Do we want to look at pivot and escalate? Did they move to other accounts maybe? Did they escalate their privileges? Now they have more rights? Or are they exfiltrating a bunch of data from the company?
Question, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's C2?
So command and control.
Come here, okay.
Yep. So that's for
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make a plan.
Watch breakers, like what like, what?
Can I see?
I was looking at
Then you know where to look.
Yeah, I was looking at network threat hunting.
I was
You'd wanna like go for where it's going next.
and some of these cards, I will say like for example this one because crisis management, it's there because an organization that especially playing these games or really thinking of the scenarios thoroughly, there is more than just incident, response, and there comes with a lot more than that. There's, obviously InfoSec that's going to be in there and it's going to look at risk management. They're going to look at policies they have in place. Crisis management is part of it, disaster recovery, all of these other scenarios. So they have other cards that are less so about, I'll say, looking at a tool and discovering this incident and where did it come from, but more about initiating certain actions. For this, so they tell you disaster recovery plan, incident response plan. We may trigger the incident response plan. We may trigger the disaster recovery plan because now we're affected. So they bring these aspects to help as well discuss some of those policies that your organization wants to have further conversations on because there's an incident. When do we choose that we need to trigger the incident response plan? When do we choose that we need to trigger the disaster recovery plan? So those are like cards that help you think outside of just, oh, I need to look at like, for example, SIM, because we just brought it up, like the tools, but the policies that we need to kick in, the procedures that we have in place. So that's why some of these cards are good. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, because the impact could be serious and you may need to trigger at a point where yeah.
Much data, whatever.
If
It's still active too, you probably wanna like.
I would say for that too, or even like isolate it to like, we can isolate it to that situation and like close it down. And then-
Before you can get there.
Exactly, and then close it off from like everything else and go into it like.
But you don't know how far he got, because he got all his banking information.
So-
Well, it's true, but
What's that touches?
but wouldn't you, as soon as like you find out like, hey, this guy's account's been infiltrated,
You would wanna
We wanna
right
shut off access for that guy
Mhm.
and make sure that like
He
he
didn't
can't do
get-
any more damage.
Yeah.
And then we have to like.
When we know that he might, even though he got access to that one, we know he have access to other things.
So quick question about the game, because I have played D&D, so like, you know, like being like kind of like investigative, like, is there a way we can figure out like, okay, what's the time frame? Like, do we know how long this access has like been compromised? You
But
know,
that's when we have
Because
to
that's
get
not the
involved.
first step, you can understand.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, so,
Yeah.
We see that you're compromised. I do have one question about the compromise.
Yep.
Was it through federated, like a federated login, or was it through, are we just dealing with like a singleton app?
Single tenant. Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, because there's a lot of layers. I try to keep this
Okay,
more on the
Yeah.
simple side, just because I didn't know what the audience, but
yeah, for me. I would look at what for to see like what.
so,
what they-
Well, I thought it was identified
Yep.
that he was one of the guys.
So
He was like-
He was on the.
He was the
Permission
developer.
So you talking about permission?
When we already know his permissions.
Not necessarily. I mean, they could be an editor, they could have multiple accounts of.
Correct.
That's just,
So it would, so like for basically look at, for the permission, like basically what the permissions were exactly, and then go from there, or?
yeah, so for instance, if he's just like a contributor, like on WordPress. Who gives a rep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe he's a super app, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Read the permissions on it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
His permissions are.
so let me see where
Keep going.
it's, yep, let me just see what, okay, yep. It's harder from my angle, so I'm just kind of make sure,
Right.
yep. So this is it, yep. It helps you.
Well, yeah.
That is a valid, I would say, I mean, what do you want, the account was, compromised, how it was compromised, but you may want to know how much permissions do they have. So like, we know just based from the scenario, they're a developer of the app, so they're gonna have some type of access.
Yeah.
To what level of access, yeah, that may be a valid card to look at.
In the beginning, you said the person that got compromised, there's somebody who like helped develop.
Yeah, so they're one of
So,
the,
like,
yeah.
You can already assume that like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because in this scenario, I mean, I didn't really say, but the developer realized that there was something going on with their account. What did they do is they called the service desk. They called the service desk to say like, hey, there's something weird. And then that's what prompted the security team to start investigating. And then, this is where we're at. You guys started investigating via the SIM, realizing, there was some weird stuff. And then you discovered that they did receive an email, and then seems like they entered their password on there. So now we're trying to figure out more information, but
I'm gonna agree.
Yeah.
so permissions audit. Yeah. Okay. So well, if you got, whoever wants to roll the dice next, and then,
I think somebody.
and then, but before you roll, which card are we trying to solve with this? Because I can flip all of them if you guys feel like it, but I can keep it to one card at a time. So to add a little bit more layer to it. But do we feel with a permissions audit, what are we gonna to help solve?
Oh, so we can add another card.
So no, like, are we gonna solve the pivot and escalate, the C2 and exfil,
Oh.
the persistence?
So escalating possibly,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
so means they can get on the server and there's certain roles from the server and this.
You have to, so I'm putting out before we roll the dice, because it might change your decision. I'm not saying what you have is wrong. The next step, a permissions audit, is a very extremely valid next step. But in this scenario, we are trying to solve for 3 specific areas. Does permission audit fall more into potentially, I don't know, initial compromise, or maybe it's just something that we want to look at, but it might not help us flip one of these cards. And like
So
what you guys said is extremely valid, like very good answer, very accurate. But will permissions audit figure out that there's maybe been a pivot or an escalation or an exfil or some persistence in access?
What kind of data's on this?
Yeah.
So, so
Is there PII?
no, well,
Yep.
there is, yeah, there's no,
NBC backgrounds now.
Trying to.
on the front end of the site, there is no PI accessible. So there is only, the student information, which is, the homework they've submitted and just the grades they have, which is tied to their name. And all you can see is the student ID. So you could label student ID as PII.
Yeah.
On the back end, there's a little bit more information that is stored. So there's there is the full user like students information that would together be considered PII, but you have obviously the student ID, their name, their email, their address, their phone number, a little bit more information, which in some circumstances, depending on where you're, supposed to be compliant with, all this together could be labeled as PII. But nothing like where, bank account numbers or credit card information, social security number.
Yeah, sure. Back to.
What? Actually, have a different. So on the SIM logs, you're gonna get an IP address.
Correct.
Um,
So it's being network.
Sorry, I know where they're long.
so I mean, an IP that came in, you're gonna know. Kind of. I mean,
Because the permission on most definitely seems like it's not a bad choice, but it's like overkill for maybe this.
so you might wanna watch like network traffic, network out traffic. So there's like, there's the amount, so if they're doing.
Somebody network that threat hunting or.
So
Why not the memory analysis?
That's a.
That would be more persistent side.
Yeah.
And we can go for solving something else too. Like you don't have to go in order, but it's up to you. I think the order in itself can make sense. But
Well, because maybe I'm understanding this, can I see what, because I was thinking this for like
The
someone else.
endpoint?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the endpoint security protection analysis, can I see that one?
That's what I was looking
Because.
at.
it's-
Yeah, that's.
CrowdStrike.
Well,
yep, right here.
this one. Monitoring points, good. Because you're talking about like seeing someone, my thesis, like, I don't care about your thesis, and take it, dude. But I do care about, like, student ID, I do care about your social security number,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that, and all that. So like, I was thinking this for like or maybe like somebody on the end.
Well,
Sure, so what's
can this be, we'd be more worried about
What's
the
that?
contractors and secure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Endpoint's the computer part. It's not.
Endpoint.
Yeah, so
I think I'm thinking about this a little bit too late, but.
He's not on, he might not be on that guy's actual computer, he's on the profile.
Yeah, so
yeah,
he's probably just fishing around to see.
He's logged into the profile on a different IP.
Correct.
and maybe there is an endpoint compromise. That is
Yeah.
something maybe we need to look at too. So far with the information I provided and the information that you're aware of, is this likely or not?
Right.
I think control. Audit. I don't know. That seems like the next slide.
Yeah, well, let's just, let's go forward.
Can we go?
I just wanna, can we click off of this one?
Yep.
And go to, let's see which one I'm thinking. We do network threat hunting.
So, yep.
Right there.
Oh, Rita.
Well, that has data expert.
Like, say
This is more of like a step, that's more like.
It's like the,
Yeah, that's like step 3.
yeah,
I mean, cause it says that.
Okay. But I
It's
just
sort
want to
of
look
like
at
they're
it.
sitting on the box.
But
correct.
don't think like read the description and say C2. You gotta think, okay, so card 2, we're looking at it from, and let me exit uh, out of here. But we're talking about pivot and escalate. So could network threat hunting help us understand that they pivoted to another account? Is that a possibility?
That could happen. We could hop onto a different account.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So they already gained access to them.
There's also another form of dropping a web shell. They found they could, as a privileged user, drop a web shell through an insecure upload, like internally, like
Yeah.
or something, drop a web shell,
Mhm.
and then now they've got access, and if they can dump the database, they can.
Mhm.
So that could be a pivot as well to see, so I mean, that's a vector,
Yeah,
a little less likely, but
but it's possible.
I think we definitely want to know where they went.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. It's like, okay, they got to the profile. What did they do when they went there? Did they go to this?
since this is a web app, like,
Yeah.
we've got access.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Because
earlier.
you have the IP, and that will tell you all the URIs that on to.
So the firewall log announcement. Oh,
What?
which one?
Memory one?
Up.
Up.
Right, right.
Oh, right here. Thanks.
Just a funny thing real quick. Gemini says, the woman in the picture that is Rita Strand, the mother of John Strand, owner of Black Hills Information Security.
Oh, that's funny.
Find out who it
I like how you looked that up, honestly. That's funny. That's hilarious. Honestly, I was just like a random lady, whatever.
I was thinking some actress or something.
It's funny.
Another thing is, we like, you pointed out earlier, we already like captured like the IP address, right? So we know like, okay, this is what's going on around, right?
Mhm.
So like, why not isolate that and then like why not isolate it and then let's see what, I guess like isolate it and then see everything that they're touching on so we can block that out so they can't touch anything else.
Yeah.
Click on.
I think if it's,
Yeah,
if
just
it's
see where they've gone.
if it's an active threat, I think you want to cut them off first. You want to stop whatever damage has been done.
So, I mean, I think, honestly, like, I think we're gonna be spinning wheels like thinking about too far. Because
Yeah.
I think we're kind of at two, pretty good right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of this game is like you spend really a lot of time and ideally, you document all of this. It's like, well, we could do this, we could do this, and then you can use that to build a standard operating procedure of what would happen if there's an account compromise. What are the steps we do? And that's what this game is like super valuable for because you guys listed a bunch of super valid things.
Can you click on cloud? And then,
Which,
That's right.
Just left.
yeah, right here. Yeah. It's like
The system, so.
Well, me too,
Yeah.
So,
because we have to look at all
I
the
mean,
things that
every
we
web
want to
service
touch.
gonna have access.
Correct.
Right.
With, and if the log formats are configured properly, they're gonna have the right.
Correct.
Hmm.
Look at it.
I either like this one or I like the isolate thing, because I feel like if somebody's in my system who's not supposed to be there, they gotta
Yeah.
go. And then I'll figure out everything after
Can,
that.
can we see isolate?
Yep.
Yeah, cut off it. Access, but the problem there is you
so.
don't have a good.
We
sense
said,
of management.
it's-
Uh,
yeah,
that's
yep.
what-
Right now.
This is segmentation. Is this network isolation? Or is this
Just isolation and
just
like,
any?
yeah, yeah. So could be network or endpoint or. And Some cards solve multiple like top cards,
This feels,
just so.
yeah, this feels like. It's network, not
That's
necessarily.
very good.
I guess it could be a account
level. Would this be account level?
Like to isolate the account?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
So, or would they isolate all, like, just because that one was compromised, you don't know which individual got it?
Well, and then it says containing the threats.
Yeah, you might have
Because
got,
we don't know, because we don't know everything that they touch in that one person, so we're catching things after the fact. So now we're trying to get.
there could be other users compromised.
yeah,
There could be
We don't know who all
more
touched it.
compromised from the one account.
Like they said, oh, well, I can, if they phishing got this
Well,
information,
because they could create.
why
like
not change
ghost-
information from getting somebody else?
Something with ghosting.
Because right now, we're talking about, okay, potential other accounts that are compromised. The account that is compromised, we know they compromised one applications. Did they compromise other applications? There's a lot of things right now that
so that's what these.
Yeah.
something, so
You know, with like isolation, but then I have that word quarantine, like quarantine is way more aggressive than like isolation itself, you know, but like. To me, if like, we'll say like this lab, where it was like a separate like branch, but we're just like, okay, we're gonna quarantine all the access in this room, so like nothing's getting out of this room.
Yeah.
Then we can like sit there and go through the data that's here, so without it contaminating the rest of
That's assuming we can.
Right, which is, you said earlier about the cloud thing, it's just like,
Well, but also a lot of web apps, it's like, they just use, session cookies. And, you know, you'll have, say, like a PHP cookie, and that maps directly into the app, like how you manage the sessions. You can't close a session, you close the web server down, and then isolate the web server. Do you want to take everybody offline?
Yeah,
Right.
it might not all been affected.
So if you can't, yeah, if you can't, like. kill
cause
the
then you're getting
session-
into like actual like company like downtime, like that's not, it's cost us money, like.
So I think,
Yeah.
so I think isolation, we might be getting ahead of ourselves.
Mhm.
I think we wanna know to what extent has this guy done
Yeah.
before we lock him out, so we can figure out what else we need to quarantine along with his.
So we
and
want
it's very situational based. You know, it depends on the incident, it depends on the account, it depends on a lot of things. So yes, sometimes that might be the further investigation might be needed.
So there was also, like, do we know? Can we assume if this is like a script kiddie that is? Or is this
Like
like a
experience-
scattered spider, or is this?
So
He's not trying to give it away.
Okay, so you
But
just
the
want,
questions
there's
are
a lot
like,
of questions.
I don't
yeah.
think it's
Too much.
I don't think we're supposed to dig this far.
it's
We're digging.
But we're asking.
no, I mean this is fantastic, honestly. Like I love it. We might run out of time, so but that no, I mean
If it's like a residential IP,
It's-
is it
it's not a script kiddie, but
not a state act?
it's not, yeah, like a state actor, APT group, so, but it's somebody that knows enough to do damage. But I would not consider them on the expert level either. They're gonna stay on what is tried and true, easier to implement, deploy, do to do more. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it vague.
So what do we think?
Are we going back to permissions off? Or are we?
Well, I think we can maybe afford a little bit more investigation, because, and also too, like they see, like, I feel like too, like, if it's someone who's like experienced but kind of inexperienced, I mean, just see.
Are we looking at the logs?
I think memory analysis really, that finding the hidden stuff and seeing what he's.
So memory analysis, what does that affect?
So that would be like, they would put like a crypto miner in memory and not on actual disk.
Oh.
And so, for instance, like, what's the one from Israel that they send you a text? Goes on your phone memory, and you shut your phone off, it's gone.
Yeah,
Oh, I remember hearing about that. I've got a
Yeah.
post saved about that too.
yeah, I forget the name too, but that's a
Cool,
cool.
memory analysis, like keep the device on, that would be like a service.
Yeah, we're looking more at endpoint at that point.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if we want to pivot to endpoint investigation, but is there anything really telling us to do that?
CRM account
Yeah.
compromise, would still lead to endpoint analysis and stuff.
Maybe to like help us, I don't know, maybe to help like us, maybe like just to help with the group. Decide, maybe like eliminate the ones that are like that we're not gonna do, that we don't need to do.
Endpoint, we don't know.
No, yes, we don't need no
Yeah.
endpoint. Neither endpoint.
Yeah, the endpoint, I don't think we need, like, firewall, I don't.
I think cloud event
Yeah.
log is fine here,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it tells us where they've been.
Correct, right.
Which is what we did.
Yeah, so like, ones that we really like, cloud,
Permission audit is another one.
active. Oh, Lord. Participants in cyber, what's that, encryption?
Yeah, here.
Encryption.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then I think we can say, maybe like, I think we should go for the more, like, to get more information, the cloud event logs, I think we can do that one, and then we can.
Cloud event logs?
Well, I mean, like I said, that's why I think, yeah, I think with everything, we all wanna know more. before we-
Yeah.
before we
What
start.
all it takes.
Is this a cloud-based application? Is it a SaaS application?
Um,
A user and entry
can you say
behavior.
the first part?
Is it is it a cloud-based application,
I mean-
like SaaS? Or,
Oh, like.
From what I've
Is it a third party?
yeah, is it hosted in some third party? Because we're talking about cloud, so I'm just, or does what I've described so far sound more like a on-prem
You
application?
said like, college, like.
It's a,
It's a college, and we know that
It's gonna be in a server.
developers created it. So
It's not gonna be.
cloud
SaaS.
is less,
But,
Likely.
yeah. But we would wanna see logs though.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah.
Firewall,
Server
log,
analysis would be what we.
or service, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's where the act, yeah, I didn't see that.
okay, yeah.
I
I
was
was
like,
just looking for logs in that one.
no, because the only other log is the firewall log analysis.
Access logs would be on the server.
Correct.
You SSH into the box.
And then if he was a
Abnormal
development
behavior
person, he
such
probably
as
has some access to the server, so.
Well, if they fished him, they don't have his like SSH creds. So, but you can still track him by his IP.
Correct.
you could see up. But is it any different than maybe what we would see from the sim?
Or-
But
access
again,
logs put in the-
like one card can solve multiple cards, so it doesn't mean like server analysis could be very valid to solve another card, or it could have it solved the first one too. So and it may, SIM is on multiple cards, server analysis is on multiple cards, all of the cloud event log analysis, those are all on multiple cards. So yeah, SIM is out for 3 more roles. Yeah, so you cannot use SIM again.
Use the lower, we can use the, I mean, I don't want to say it's the lower one, but what was the second option, the user and entity?
That's the
behavior?
one to the
You
far.
said that's the
to
far right.
Yeah, so I mean, like, because that one was basically right under this one for almost the same reasons, except
That
for,
is true, because
so I mean,
it would give us the.
Can we read
logs
that?
and everything.
yeah, let's read that, yeah, let's read it.
So which one?
Uh,
The-
all the way to the
all the way to the
right,
right.
UEBA. You gonna do
So
it.
this one? For background, so this is a game to help simulate a incident response scenario. The team is trying to solve the top cards based on the defense, like the options that you have below. The scenario I provided is
So we already.
so far, and some additional based on what they've discovered, that there's a developer account that was compromised. He called into service desk. There was some weird activity on the account.
Yeah, right.
The security team started investigating. through investigation, their investigation via the SIM, they discovered that pretty much, yeah, the account was compromised, and it was compromised via a phishing email that contained a link. That link then sent to pretty much a site that was a fake login, and they entered their login, their credentials were harvested, and now they have that. So they're trying to figure out what are the next steps. What is their next valid point to help solve this scenario? This whole game kind of behaves like Dungeons and Dragons, if you're familiar or not. So there's a big scenario. There's those 4 top cards that they need to solve within 10 roll dices. And depending on the number that the dice falls under, it's either a successful attempt if the card they're choosing is right, or a failed attempt even if the card is right. So just giving you a brief recap so you're in the loop. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're gonna go with this one. Final decision.
Okay, who's got a dice and who needs to roll? 'Cause maybe right, maybe wrong, but if the number, and this is not a plus.
Oh my God. You roll a 1? Nice. Nice. I like it.
So
I like it.
that then locks that card for, I believe it was the last
That was the very last.
one.
And now it's.
It could have been it could have been the card. Could have been not, but that's how incident response happens. Chaos all of a sudden. Now everything's burning. Yeah. Like, what happens is just the server that has those logs is now down, so you can't access it.
All the students not.
Yeah.
And
No.
So the campus is burning. We're calling the fire department.
Oh.
Now I have to.
So-
Yeah, now we gotta go to.
We don't have access to like a third party.
The
Yeah,
server's
we know.
Oh, we've got to get in the server.
Yeah, we got.
Server analysis.
Yeah, server analysis.
Okay. Somebody wants to roll the dice?
I'm gonna try this time.
Leave it on.
All right. We're gonna get it off that bad side. Nope,
Five.
it's still there. Damn, Jason.
You guys are really having some bad luck around here.
Getting there.
All
right, Darius,
If you keep rolling at a good pace, you're gonna have sim unlock soon.
Okay.
We're getting there. We're getting there. What are you trying to roll?
So-
We gotta go above 11.
Yeah, 11 or higher is successful roll.
I was doing.
Oh, yeah. And then every time you use a card, it's locked for 3 attempts. So you can't use it for 3 and then until you can again. So you gotta be mindful of what card you use because you won't be able to use it for the next 3 thrice.
Real quick.
Yeah,
It's
Second, left.
Yep.
There you go.
right here. And start tracking you guys'
You can see
rolls.
request URIs, see everything about the class, their whatever protocol they're
Mhm.
on. But if it's a web app, it's gonna be ways.
Correct.
So you'll be able to get all the headers off the, see the C session open
Yeah.
on that. I think it's all.
Wanna try that one, Davis?
More berries.
Do we
Oh, do you have any thoughts?
You got any thoughts over this?
firewall log analysis based on the serial I presented to help the pivot and escalate, C2 exfil or persistence. I'll open up to all 3 cards, just not limited to one just for sake of time. So if this card does unlock any of them, I'll flip it. Yeah, it's just, yeah, 11 or higher. But does everyone agree on firewall log analysis to hopefully help discover if there's been a pivot, there's been an exfil, or if there's some persistence? I hope so is not a good thing for security.
So far, so I mean.
Kinda don't want to go with this, because I want to stay with that. Let's do firewall.
Do it.
Firewall, go.
Firewall log analysis. Okay,
Do you feel like?
So- let me,
Let's see if there's some kind of back tables. What? What'd you just do?
The little birdie, what is that?
20?
That's a 20.
20?
Okay.
Wow.
20.
Yeah.
Super successful.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
which card were we hoping to flip over via that?
Oh, he's talking about pivot
and then escalate.
You're not gonna see exfil from a firewall,
Yeah.
because it's inbound,
well, pivot.
I mean, unless your firewall's logging.
You could.
In this case, that's perimeter, it's probably
Let's do
lower.
pivot and escalate.
It's probably up, we have no view into the perimeter, somebody's not gonna say, oh.
So-
The server room is locked.
So for pivot and escalate, that's what we're trying to do.
Thinking.
So for that card, it's wrong,
We said
But-
thinking.
but it is correct for another card. So I'll flip that one.
That's the last one.
Should be
Persistent.
So C2 and exfil.
nice.
Oh, there's similar, and firewall analysis and network.
So this is, yep, the card. So for this scenario, that their workstation is making repeated DNS requests to unusual, the user workstation. So the developer, their account was compromised. Now their workstation is making unusual DNS requests to a domain. So now we're pivoting to something else. So I'm throwing that in just I've made it sound not like endpoint so far because that's not what we had. But now via firewall log analysis, we discovered that there is a DNS as a C2. So it's making calls to unusual domains that we're not familiar with. That's what we discovered via the firewall log analysis. So from here, let me remove that card. I mean, no, but see, this is all incident investigation and response. So you're investigating and you're discovering more things. That because via your firewall log analysis, you discovered that now from that device, you're seeing DNS requests outbound to unusual domain. Active defense. Yep.
Not about to say, something else.
So these were honeypots.
Okay.
Honeypot server.
Yeah, honeypot, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to read.
Mirror
that.
token server.
And you could discover potentially, I mean, it just depends, you know, but it could be a valid card. Maybe not. It just depends. But
So, I mean, this-
honeypots can make you discover things.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's, and this scenario will assume that there's honeypots because the card is there. So that's again, like where in your environment, if there's no honeypots, because the card is there, it's a detection rule that we have. Unless I throw you a random, and then I'm saying like, well, we thought we did, and actually, we're logged out, we can't access. So sometimes like I can throw random scenarios like that just to make it more complicated. But yeah, I mean, this could be valid. Is that, I know you just, wanted to look at it, but while we're at it, do we think this is maybe a good option to maybe honeypots?
I think isolation is the,
Key
if
word.
we know they're making unusual network requests, isolate the word like
Yeah,
NAC.
yeah. So they can't damage.
You need isolation or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, yeah, isolate the host.
yeah.
Okay. So do we feel like isolate is
Yep, I think we need to quarantine it.
so, and that was success.
Are we,
Here we go.
we're going for,
Isolation.
Which card
So-
specifically between the two?
I mean, they're not.
Again,
If they're X filling, they're not trying to persist and like hide.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty, so egregious. I mean,
which is just.
you ready? I'm rolling.
And it didn't matter.
A four.
Four.
So we lost that one.
Oh, man.
So we
Sorry.
still got. Well, five.
So this next one will be attempt 6. Attempt 6 is the next one. So you have, a few more tries, but you reached your halfway point. And so now let me move some of these.
Come on, y'all.
We gotta pick whatever one, we don't roll yet, we gotta pick something.
So we did isolation just now.
Firewall.
And then,
So
11 or better.
user entry behavior is on one.
and then
Yeah,
Firewall.
Firewall, login, activity.
oh right, I forgot firewall. That's correct. Thanks. Forgot to put a chip there.
Very good. Yeah.
So SIM is back to being unlocked. So now you have SIM again, because you've made 3 attempts since. One successful, the rest not so much successful.
oh, we gotta figure out if we're gonna pivot and
It's
escalate the
that
position.
persistence, always server analysis. You don't know if they're having that slant.
Correct. Yeah.
So we know there's an endpoint compromise, there's an account compromise.
But endpoint analysis purposes.
Yeah, either endpoint security, analysis.
No,
So, so 2 things have happened here. You've had an app compromise and then you've had an endpoint compromise.
Correct, because it's sending it from his computer,
Mm-hmm.
so we need to.
So. Yeah, so he's masquerading on the computer, but
Mhm.
still through the endpoint. So logged into the app. And it's filling to the local, it's filling out. So. Yeah, and like, I wish we had isolation. Sorry.
That's all good.
Okay,
Endpoint analysis is
analysis.
really our.
is that what we're going
We
with?
gotta go check out that computer.
Endpoint analysis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Check out that
Who wants to
computer.
roll?
What is the security protection?
Let me
What's the
s-
difference?
What's the
So,
difference?
Point security.
so there's endpoint analysis and then endpoint security protection analysis. Okay, so the defenders deploy and monitor endpoint security solutions to detect and prevent unauthorized access and activity on endpoint. So that's just so it's like EDR.
Seems like.
Endpoint analysis is mostly looking at the device.
Yeah, I like that.
Endpoint analysis versus the other one?
Well,
Or-
this one seems like it would be or.
Is it, and that's gonna be for the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be for.
Yeah.
So you guys, this,
Yeah. maybe.
Endpoint analysis. We're gonna have Andre rolling the dice. Not doing as
Sure.
well. Here we go.
I've-
No,
Oh,
Well, we know
I
you
don't
need
know
a
if
ship.
Andre, that's a carpet floor. I don't know if we wanna.
I wasn't on a ship.
It'd be a little different if it wasn't a carpet.
Wherever.
I mean, cool.
It's up to you, man.
Oh, you'll be.
So this is the last one we have?
Yeah, last one.
You have two more cards.
No,
But yeah.
It's the last one. What we got?
15?
Oh, and that's fast.
Okay. So you guys were trying to do pivot and escalate?
Oh,
Yeah.
So endpoint analysis is unsuccessful for pivot and escalate,
but.
but it is successful for persistence. So I would have failed you if we were sticking to one card, but it's still, so now for persistence, malicious browser plugin. So this is where additional information, but let me open it up so you see a little bit more about the card itself. Oh. And so, yeah, this is so endpoint analysis helped you discover that there is a malicious browser plugin on the endpoint that we discovered was compromised. The account is compromised. The endpoint's compromised. There's a malicious plugin that is staying into the device. So now if we think about it, because we went from really thinking about account compromise at first, and all of a sudden we had this discovery that there was an endpoint compromise. Now we might have some insights as to maybe first how they're retaining access, but as well as potentially how did that user end up getting a plugin from a phishing email? Was there more from this? So what happened for the story, because now we're getting a little bit more, the user did click that email, they put their password, their credentials in there. Yep. The one thing that happened as well at the same time, the login, once you put your password in, it asks you,
You want to say that?
do you want what?
Oh.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes ask like, do you want to save your password so you don't have to log in?
So that's a good yeah, I wasn't going in that direction, but yeah, it could be like, do you want to save it? And then you click that, and all of a sudden you don't realize and we'll go with that scenario. It's actually it's a fake save your password that then automatically installs a browser plugin. So that user ended up then leaking their credentials, installing a plugin without knowing. So now they compromised their entire setup, and the threat actor has been able to stay in that device via this plugin. And from there, now we kind of know that they're kind of screwed in a lot of ways. How do we go from here? Because now we know pretty much they're fully taken over.
The IOC. The other users.
It's sending a lot.
Is it like,
Because right now it's like we really focused on this one user.
So
We
like.
dove into their endpoint. We know like
See if the IOC's on other folks.
it could be because yeah, this is at that point pretty what I would consider severe. And the biggest thing too is your EDR, your endpoint detection and response tool, didn't block it. Plugin was able to get installed without any issues. So that person's been in there. Obviously, from what we could tell, this happened in the morning. We'll say now it's afternoon. So they haven't been in the environment hopefully for too long that we can tell, but maybe not. Maybe they've been in there for a long time because the user noticed this morning that there was weird activity going on. They didn't say anything about their workstation. They only said about their account, which that triggered an investigation. They could have been in there for a long time. They could have done a lot of damage. What could have they done during that time?
All the information on.
Well, he's a developer, or they're a developer, whatever. it
Yep.
is.
Yeah.
Developer, yep.
So the public keys on a server, giving them access possibly without MFA. So the actual web app, now that's the front end compromised, now they pop the whole box if they, pseudo-probes or whatever. They can have to fake right into that box. Maybe other.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what, in that logic, you're the threat actor. What would you do next? You know you have this user's account taken over. You know you have this device taken over. Between knowing what the user at least sees from, at least interacts with from his device, and then getting his login username, what would then the threat actor potentially do? Especially when we're talking about the one card that we're trying to solve, which is pivot and escalate.
I mean, they could somehow try to get in contact with him via some other email that he can link back to set up. It could be like a ransom thing. Well, not a ransom thing, but like you give me money and all this will go away type of thing, or I'm gonna sell your information to whoever and then we'll get all your stuff.
Who wants college kids info? But if you could ransom, like get the domain controller or something, but ransomware is the domain controller.
I will add some hints because I know we're like just past date and I want to be mindful. Yeah. Is the developer account and the original compromise of that application that valuable to the threat actor, knowing that there isn't very sensitive information there? There is some, and that's a great, you want to grab what you can, but knowing that they have access to the app. So like, yes, the app can be considered compromised, but we're talking about, did they move to something else because of pivot and escalate? Or did they escalate their privileges to gain more access to the app? We can probably assume that because it's a developer that built the app, he probably has full access to the app. Like, so maybe escalation within the app is less likely because they already are fully escalated. Is pivoting potentially an option? Is the threat actor like, okay, this application's got some good information. I got all this like addresses, phone numbers. I'm gonna take all of that. Yeah, but that's for a later attack. Now I can do attacks on specific users. I can target them, try to, get into your bank account by saying like, hey, I'm the school, etc. Yes, but for this specific attack, no, this is useful information for other attacks.
Find the jump box.
So like this is more like this attack, you're like, for it sounds like you're saying this is more like posing than anything, like showing like, hey, I got all this, I'm I'm gonna go in and get more, so like.
I mean, he's in. The guy is in. He's in on an account with some privileges, at least for one application. Could that user have privileges in other applications?
No.
How does he get, like, how does he deploy? Is there a CSD? Do they SFTP up?
Does he have
a jump box? If there's a jump box through the DMZ, then you're possibly have access to other things that haven't been segmented. And if it's just a college, if it's is it community college?
Well, we'll assume it's just community college,
Community
but
college, the domain controller is sitting right next to, the next rack over. The
so,
same subnet, so.
I thought it was like.
I feel like we would just go back to the first thing and just like.
well, college, I mean, yeah, higher education, learning.
Cause, just the steps he's going. I thought that he-
But like, you wanna be, like, we're thinking still thinking of, not even still thinking of the now, and so like.
Not saying that.
You wanna isolate, and then, because here's the thing, all the protections
We
don't.
can't use ice.
So, I mean,
Well, I mean, I understand that, but.
All
ultimately, like, we're already like.
schools, they need a platform to submit your assignments, manage your grades and all of that. And obviously, anybody that's part of their IT staff is gonna have their own computer, at least a, computer assigned to them. So, yeah, I mean, I think if it's a university or community college or, even high school, it's, would be similar. Setup at least, with more complexity depending on budget. We know that maybe community college is more fitting because more limited budget, I would say. Because from earlier conversation, we said that they didn't have MFA just because I wanted to reduce the complexity,
Yeah.
even though that's unlikely, but I didn't want to throw in that because I know there's already a lot of layers into this. Um, so yeah. But at this point, we know what we know, and we're trying to solve one more card, pivot and escalate.
So are those locked forever? Once they get one?
No, it's you gotta roll and then you'll unlock them. Yeah, exactly. If you're successful at filling, well, it's 3 more rolls successful or not.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they're locked, and I think
we fail successfully at 3 points.
the last one you guys did was endpoint analysis, so I actually need to move to that one.
Right, so we do.
'Cause, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I get two.
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
So-
fi-
What about-
Firewall will tell us like what's happening between servers,
Yeah.
like what's going over the network
You-
between hosts.
Mhm.
So
You do have
we don't
the
have firewall.
Firewall.
UEA BA again.
What
Yeah,
about
so-
activating the defense and cyber?
Deception.
Yeah.
Let me see which one.
It's not about.
Active defense and cyber deception. Yeah.
I mean. They're mapping.
They are.
That's out of
Yeah,
network.
that's what we went back to.
But
He's already been here for so long.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's.
And like, so if something new starts talking from, like, hey, this is this, he's not like, yeah, that's new. I'm
Yeah,
not-
cause he's already been requesting from the DNS, so.
Yeah.
When will we next week, so last time?
so this was
So,
also
well-
persistence to detect the. Like.
There's persistence already via
for-
the
like,
browser
further
plugin.
Persistence, like.
Yeah.
He closed that
Got
call.
them out, but maybe there's something to miss.
So, and a lot of this is, I'll say, detection. Right now, less so response, because we're trying to detect all this activity at the top. We were trying to detect where it came from, the initial compromise, which was phishing. We're trying to detect where the persistence was, if there was any persistence, which is browser plugin. We're trying to detect, forget the DNS, the C2. And then if there was some command and control activity, so if there were still, so we detected all of this.
What? crisis
Which card?
management?
Price.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's gonna get there, but I'll.
So a lot of these, like, so this card would have been triggered by now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Is it gonna solve
No.
the card that we're trying? No,
No.
but like if I'm running a tabletop exercise in my company, I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Like by now, you better have like, yeah, started the incident response plan. Because, or you got a dev account that was compromised, their workstation was compromised. They have access to this web application that, has a lot of user information, which you may need to then now report because that would fall into, all these clearinghouse and all those, school related breaches that you've heard. So there's, yeah, like that card is a valid, but is it going to solve the one? Probably not. But the fact that you say we should trigger that card, yes, 100%. Like you not saying is like, not a good thing. You want to say like we need to engage these activities. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
The firewall would be, like, network analysis would be where we kind of look, network threat hunting. Actually, it would be network threat
Well, I'm
hunting.
just saying, like, in general, ain't he passed the firewall?
What's that?
Yes, just in general speaking, like, ain't he passed the firewall?
He's on the user.
He's just on the user
Like the,
computer.
yeah,
So you got to think about it.
that's privilege endpoint.
Yeah, he has a lot of control so far. He has control to the dev workstation that he does all his work from. He's got control of his at least main login, which might have access to other applications from that, either because they have SSO set up, some type of like portal that has all the apps, and then the SSO, and he can just SSO into it. Or and then he sees what he works on a day-to-day basis. He sees all the applications he interacts, maybe what he has bookmarked on his browser, all of that information. He sees all of that. So what are they going to try to do? Maybe they're going to try to escalate within the endpoint to gain more access because they just want to fully take over the device to make sure they can install more stuff. Maybe they're gonna want to pivot to another account, to another application, to maybe they're gonna want to escalate within that application to have access. There's a lot of things they could do. There's a lot of things they have options to do. So now we need to figure out, did they pivot? Did they escalate? So what is going to be the best thing to help us do that?
We need something like, right now, everything right now is more like, hey, okay, they're doing this, well, we know they're doing this. So like, we need a physical way, or not physical, but like, in a sense of like, what do you call it? Sense of like the network and everything. That we need to find a way to shut them off, don't turn them off. So like,
Yeah.
what, I know, this sounds weird, like, I know, like, because we understand the permissions they have, but like, when you're going through doing an audit, wouldn't you want people like, hey, don't be trying to log into the stuff right now because we're doing an audit, so like, would doing a permission audit, like, kick them off for a little bit? Until
So
maybe we can get isolation back open.
at a point where we're at, we would have
Use that.
locked down the account.
Right,
We would have quarantined the device because that's not a server running in production. This is a user workstation. So we don't care. I mean, that's like for even my company, that's the first thing. I know your account, it's not a service account, it's a user account, it's a workstation.
Okay.
I boot it right away. I don't even second guess. I investigate after. Like obviously I wait till I have like some valid one use case like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's definitely compromise, but then I quarantine everything and then we can do forensic analysis. We can do more.
But we have
So, but yeah, they could be on other things, you know, and that's that card, pivot and escalate. That's what now, like we have to look, this is specifically what we're trying to solve.
Yeah, network threat. Yeah, very great. I think I like that one.
Let me see that one.
we don't know what we don't know, that, I mean, that deal.
Right, not for signs of malicious activity.
Oh, wait, I'm clicking on the wrong computer, wrong screen. Why is it? Why is it not working? Oh, I don't know what, there we go, sorry.
Maybe onion. Yeah, because it's coming in remotely, so I think this might be.
We, yeah, we know an IP address, and then
So, network threat hunting. We're looking at the whole network. Right now, from what I've explained, does this feel more isolated to one account, one workstation versus the network.
Depends on how.
I think it's just one.
But yeah, I'm just making you second guess things. But you could have the right card, but
So, I mean, I'm down to like most definitely do this one, but can we look at the, I'm looking at the, where's most, can we look at the endpoint security protection?
yep.
So this is- most definitely
Yeah.
Or like this should have been preempted, this is.
We should, I feel like this should have already.
That should have been out
Yeah,
of the
so we done.
that would have been done with.
I mean, if you quarantine the device, like that. That's exactly.
Cause you could,
So we-
And-
Go to that workstation and then you actually have more access to these.
For this scenario, this card, like, because sometimes the descriptions at the top can be, this is like you said, it sounds like an after action because how it's worded. Well, let's assume there's already a EDR on the device. Okay, for this card. I'm not saying this is the right answer, but I'm just saying let's not go into more what the top deploy and monitor. It's already been deployed. It's already monitoring.
Yeah, and my thing is to also outside of like the actual scenario, so like we have 3 shots at this, like we just really need 2 more to get that, so.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I can play.
Oh, that's strategic. Yeah, yeah. Do you guys want this one? So we're doing this card? Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna. Off the wall. Begin the wall look.
You better hit it.
I got it.
Good God. Don't-
Damn it.
What's the number?
7.
Wait. So is that not a top card? No, that's not a top card. Yeah. So 7's fail. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a way to get them.
Okay. I gotta move. So
Voted.
Hey, really? Hey, you heard me hit the wall.
You see it.
I went through the wall. Did it really? It'd be like that sometimes.
so now you have firewall log analysis to open back up. I think, or wait, in isolations.
And show,
Yeah,
Hello.
here's the firewall. That's good.
You doing a firewall?
yeah.
Firewall log analysis. Okay, who wants to roll?
Oh.
20.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, unfortunately for you, firewall logs did not show anything around pivot and escalation.
That's okay, you know what, we got the.
One more step closer.
So when you say that, what does this mean?
So
It was the wrong tool or it didn't show it?
it didn't show anything.
Okay,
So there are.
Okay.
so let's go.
The firewall is built. Nothing wrong with the firewall.
It could just be mean the firewall aren't adjusting those logs.
For listening on
Yep.
words.
That means it's at the dude. It's at the endpoint. He's there.
And I can't remember the name for the attacks, but like, I know there's a way, like, if you're in the system, or whatever, to like send stuff that like, where the firewall looks at it and goes, huh, no, that's good. You know, basically, like, look, I can't remember what the name is for it, though, there's a name for it, where it's like, the firewall looks at it and like, does look at it, but it's like, yeah, but it still sees it as like, it's okay.
That's fine.
Like, it's not, like, it's looking at the malicious site, but there's a name for it, we just, I feel like
There's
it's just
no traffic, though, right?
There's traffic.
There, I mean, there's no traffic from that endpoint to anywhere else in the.
I think it's.
Is that
It's something near
It's
it.
the same.
It's making it
No,
look like something else.
not necessarily. It's more so saying that your log analysis was not successful discovering
Yeah.
like any pivot activity or escalations of privileges. So you could still be seeing traffic from the firewall log for that user. You're just not seeing any traffic on the firewall log indicating that there is escalation or pivoting to something else.
So is firewall misconfigured? Is it?
Could it be, couldn't he not be hitting anything else that's on the network? Could he be hitting cloud-based applications? Could he be hitting
So we'll go to.
So,
public-facing outbound traffic that isn't seeing the information you need it to see?
cause we technically don't, everything the user has access or permission to. Like, you know, sometimes they give permission to click
So-
on.
Yeah, we haven't done an audit of the permissions.
Yeah,
But
but I think we kind of.
you can, and that's valuable too, just to understand what, but it may be an after the fact, because right now, like, auditing their permission can be time consuming,
Yeah,
depending on like if you have it well documented or not. But knowing their permissions isn't gonna necessarily tell us what they pivoted to. It could, because maybe, you know, it's 80 Active Directory group based, and you know they're in this group, which gives them permissions to all these applications, etc. Makes them an admin of XYZ. So that's a possibility. But that's up to you guys. If you think that, you know, a permissions audit could be something helpful for you to figure out if there's pivot or escalation happening.
just a thought.
For the
Did we see the
point.
cloud event log analysis?
Yep.
Like some doing the cloud.
So, and I'll help you a little bit. So the user account's compromised. We want to know what that user activity is doing. We know their workstation's compromised. We want to look at what their workstation's doing. We know that we've looked at it some and we discovered that there was DNS, you know,
Correct.
requests going outbound to some unusual domain. That was to retain persistence. Actually for C2, sorry. We know there's a browser plugin to retain access, at least. We know it's very user specific, workstation, user. We know they kind of fully compromised the workstation because they got to a point where they've been on the device. We don't know much about the account compromise. We know it's compromised. We know it has access to this one application. We know for sure they're on the workstation. Do we know for sure they're not on another application besides the one that we're aware of?
Permissions off.
Yeah. Alright,
That's definitely gonna be on pivot and escalate.
yeah.
So permissions audit. This is the card.
Who's making the rule?
Oh, boy.
Is this our last one?
No, you have three more
Let's see.
or maybe two more. I might have miscounted one. I have you at 7 and the last one was
We're going off of isolation analog, so we have two more.
Yeah.
You did two, you did one, you did one.
We only got one.
I did two, you did.
Oh, we believe in you.
And this should be your second.
Yeah, this is your second.
No
so
pressure.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
eight.
All right, we'll go
Alright.
community college for that.
So this is for all of the community college transcripts.
11.
Right on the money. And he didn't solve anything. That's gonna be great.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Watch, watch.
No.
He's smiling too hard.
It didn't solve anything.
Alright.
For the real rule.
Oh my god, you're
So-
so happy to tell me no. You should play D&D for sure, bro.
This permissions audit, though, did give you more information. It made you realized that they do have access to more things. Okay, more applications. So now, from those logins, that login can get access to more applications.
Okay. So it's.
So what?
Since it did help,
Lock
I'm
it
not.
down.
Yeah. So, and I'm making this as I go because I didn't know you were gonna use this card, but that did help you know that they can definitely get into other applications from those creds. So
Have access to these password resets.
what would they do to get somewhere else into the environment?
So say. Uh,
I mean, I gotta move some things. So now you have isolation opened up again. Yep. And then
Sim.
you guys did permissions audit. Yeah. And then I'll bring back sim. And the sim might be good option. I mean, okay, we're talking about, that password, that those login credentials work on other applications. You know that via the permissions audit. You know their workstation's compromised, but the workstation, it's limiting. It's whatever's on the workstation. So they might have gotten some good stuff on the workstation. Could have been secrets from, them developing other apps, etc. But what would the user now do to maybe gain access to other things? Would they be gaining access to other workstations with that user account? Probably not, because they're a dev. They don't manage workstations. It's not like they're gonna, and it's a workstation. It's not a server. It's not something we're pivoting to another, but it's possible. They could have an AVD on their workstation. They could have something. They could be able to SSH into a server. But yeah, so SIM may help us understand what other activity the user or the threat actor is doing.
There's still
Most attackers like the leader signatures.
there's still this EDR going into the sim.
Yeah.
EDR is not into the SIM. Yeah,
Separate.
yeah.
Yes,
EDR falls more under technically the endpoint security protection analysis.
Or protections with someone else.
What do you mean?
I mean, if there's unusual activity.
Yeah.
One of the things we have, I mean, feel like this is so flat, like there's no like fire alarms going off. Or like, is that the case here?
So no, not, yeah, and I did make it flat, assuming that I'm not, helping you guys. I guess like throw in too much and just letting you figure it out versus security alerts helping you figure it out. But yeah, like you do have security alerts. If I were to make up one for,
Yeah, I'm already there right now.
but so for pivot and escalate, are you going to discover anything from isolation? No.
No.
Isolation may be persistence. You may be able to shut down, but yes, yeah, it might be initial compromise and exactly like so. Right now, we're just trying to figure out, did they pivot anywhere?
But
Memory analysis is focused on a specific endpoint, more so.
No?
No, he said.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot we got that.
But you still, yeah, it's free, but
Oh, wait, go.
The defender, go back? Is that what you said, or?
We would already pass.
This one sounds almost.
So how would that work though? With the simulating the honeypot setup?
Well,
Right. What would you use the most time?
a honeypot. The account's taken over.
Right.
We know we're trying to figure out if they pivoted. If they pivot, what would they be doing with those credentials?
I mean, it's.
Sending out more phishing emails?
So,
Would, if we have a honeypot deployed, go on the assumption that they are spraying, a honeypot could detect it
Yeah.
because they're going to be trying to hit a bunch of things. Well, they're putting a rill, but if there is a login request onto a honeypot, that triggers alerts.
Correct.
Because nobody's supposed to log into that. Unless you have it set up differently, it just depends on how you have it set up. But mostly it's just to see like what activity goes on there. If there's any activity, it's not supposed to be.
Even if you ping it. I
Whoever.
mean, they'll just show where it came from.
So maybe a honeypot could be.
What's that?
The honeypot thing shows the extent,
Well-
like what's he doing now?
I mean, they're mapping the network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know the network, so.
couldn't we do the same thing with the user and entity behavior analytics itself? Because I mean, now they have access to all the users.
So if I open it up, because
I think that's probably more client side. But
We already know. that-
ties into,
we know they're on the net.
Yeah.
it does talk about obviously compromised account. We know it's compromised. Based on what's been mentioned, we are trying to detect unusual activity, not necessarily in the sense of unusual for the user, but just unusual now that we know that the account's been compromised.
I think I'm just thinking about, like, you said not to do this, I'm like looking at the descriptions of will it do it or whatever.
Yeah, you have to keep them open, like, cause they describe them sometimes in a way that the biggest thing is like, I like to go by the title more so than you can read it and it helps you just roughly get but don't think about it as like, this is like a proactive step or a reactive step or
Right.
like just,
That's the problem.
right now, this card, just read it as looking at the user, like behavior. So
So-
user logs pretty much.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess honeypot would be the best, probably the best one, because like, we basically essentially set up a bear trap, wait for them to step in it.
So do we feel the active defense and cyber deception?
And
Who wants
that's
to
the
roll?
most important part. There it is.
Yeah.
Are you gonna roll a 20 again?
Yeah, it's just the table that's got the luck.
What do you think?
Maybe.
He's-
He's thinking.
He's thinking.
Oh, you don't like that
It's
card?
got the luck.
You're not a fan of that card? The
Well,
team,
you had said
the team right now are telling you that's what they want.
Well, you know.
What do you feel about card?
What do you?
But honestly, it's what he's doing is a good thing because sometimes, having those discussions and having this one person that challenges the
Yeah.
group mentality is very valuable because sometimes that makes you rethink the whole thing and then find what you need. I'm not saying that's necessarily what you need to do. I'm just saying that is a good thing to still question it. But obviously, this is an incident, so we're trying to move fast within 10 tries. But we have more tries and, like,
Then in a real life scenario.
yeah, you can try, you can look at all of these things.
Well, you can make a point. The reason why I had chose this because you had made a point about now the individual, the hacker is trying to go to multiple accounts or
And
whatever the case
remember-
may be.
what I mentioned and everything I say tends to be clues to
Yeah,
what.
that's what
Yes.
I picked up on that.
So I don't say anything just to say it.
Correct.
Sometimes I say it to help just, like whatever you guys are talking about. But if I introduce new material from the scenario, it's to provide clues.
Yeah, that's where I picked up this one, but I don't know.
I- I-
100% right.
And that might be,
Isolate wouldn't.
that might be a correct. Isolate is not a good one. I'm gonna remove that card completely. We're not quarantining, we're not isolating.
It's never gonna
Nope.
work.
What you thinking, Darius?
So what are we doing? Are we rolling on this card?
I think this,
What are we doing?
I think.
Sounds like the,
I feel like.
sounds like the group. Let's go based on the group. But let's see what card would you would like to see? And then we can go based on both too, because I know we're way over time and
Yeah.
I don't want to be, no, but like,
No, but.
let's leave it to 2 cards for this one. 2 cards, because either way, just because of time, even if you fail, I'll probably just flip it. Just I'm just trying to be mindful. I don't mind staying longer, but I know we're already 36 minutes over, so I'm trying to, not be rude. But so what other card would you think if you're trying to figure out pivot and escalate? You're trying to figure out, detect any type of activity around them moving to some other workstation, other application, other server, anything, or they're trying to escalate within what they have. So within their workstation, within their app.
I used to always say I like sorry, yeah.
See what
The-
you said, that's what triggered me.
Yeah, but that's.
But,
Which one?
So.
But if you-
So, like-
You were gonna pick, say one.
Yeah,
What would you do?
What are you hung up on? Like, what are you, I guess, what is challenging the,
So if that's your second.
so we have a honeypot, but the honeypot might not catch anything. Yeah, it's possible. Maybe they didn't attempt. So yeah, that could screw you in itself. If there is a honeypot, you would get an alert from it. I can't tell you if you do get an alert because that's me saying like, yeah, use that card. Like, but
so which one? There?
What do you think?
Cloud?
Like along the cloud, but so it's an application, all the apps are pretty much in the cloud, they store information.
so they could be pivoting to, yeah, cloud application. They're at a point where, based on what I'm saying, they're gonna probably try to get into other things, which is what pivoting is. That could fall under cloud applications, could fall under on-prem applications, could fall under a lot of different things. But based on what you mentioned, they're most likely gonna do a password spray attack to
Try lateral move.
to see what they can get into, especially now that we know those permissions allow you to get into other things. Obviously, the threat actor does not know that necessarily that he can get into, but if he wants to pivot to something else, he's gonna have to attempt it
Yeah.
via what, well, at least one potential option would be a password spray attack. Is that what they're doing? Maybe, maybe not.
If he does put it into a password attack, would that mean that other users would be doing weird stuff?
No,
That's-
because if we're talking about password spray attack specifically, that's coming from that user's account. He's spraying that password. So you could do a different version, like we're talking about, we know there's one account that's compromised, so they're most likely gonna, try to attempt those credentials a bunch of different places. But yes, a password spray attack could be specific to one application and they're trying a bunch of passwords. So like they may do a dictionary attack or something like that, like a rainbow, attack.
Or there could be a Mary token that was planted on the machine. And
Yeah.
it's used and that triggered that's a honeypot too.
Mhm.
Yep.
I think too, going into it, just like add like a little element for the side. a lot of stuff we've done has been kind of, I guess, I mean, on passive aggressive, it's been kind of like, they were looking through what we're doing, they're seeing the areas they're in, they're attacking necessarily. So now we need to take, because like we're in like the pivot escalate stage, that's the last one, but we need to decide, we need to take some kind of like action to like actually start trying to improve.
Yeah.
So like, I think between the two, I know one of them was like, I think the threat, never threat hunting, and then active defense and the side, like, I personally, the trapping, like kind of, the trapping one, I think that sounds like the best one, because like, right now, especially if they're spraying, they're bound to hit something that we put out for them to hit.
Well, you don't know if they're spraying.
Well, okay, sorry, maybe, sorry.
It might be
Right,
spraying.
if that's, we'll say,
Spraying
But
possibly, if they're possibly spraying.
if they're trying to figure out what that user has access to, they're most likely gonna do actions that tend to be related to password spray.
Right, right. So yeah, I just think that, I mean, like, I think we should take like action, like more aggressive action at this point, and those sound like.
I mean, yeah, in a real life scenario, it's just like, look at things, look at all the logs that you can, take actions, yeah, quarantine as soon as you know for sure, isolate the account. If you know, start investigating. Like there's a lot of more actions that you would take. A lot of this is about detecting the activity. But obviously it ties in ideally, like as you're going through the scenario, isolating, quarantining, all of these are valid things, maybe less likely to solve the scenario, but there are things you want to hear as you work through the scenario. But I'm not saying like in some scenarios, like isolation will solve a card, quarantining will solve a card, etc. I know there's not a quarantine like specific, it's more isolation under there, but I think there's more detection cards too in other like scenarios. So I think like quarantine might be one too, but it falls a lot under isolation for the most part. I mean, we can send it and then see. There's still, well, I guess not really another role because I know for you catch, but
Best option. You're not gonna do
but
it.
you can see too. Like, I mean, yeah. What?
Well, when he explained about the way he worded. Maybe I think I was just going with that,
Okay,
so.
roll your dice then. If let's
No,
It's a 20.
bad roll. Look, I saw it.
10.
So they fell on the floor.
So that's a fail technically, but because we're at a time and I'm just not trying to keep you guys here all night. It was 11. Yeah. So, because it's not a plus, because yeah, you guys did the, yeah, so it would have flipped the card.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is a password spray attack that you discovered, and the honeypot, got hit from it. So that
See?
discovered that.
That new information. Yeah.
So now and I could elaborate, obviously, if you would have done this before the other cards, I could have elaborated that you got access to other devices, create some scenarios. Obviously, in the bigger picture, it would have not helped you solve other, but it would make you think, oh, maybe we need to check this, and that. So, but yeah, so very good guess on your part for the password spray. Very good on, deciding on the honeypot in this scenario. It does solve. But other things, the user behavior analytics would have solved it too. Like that, because you're looking at the user behavior. So the SIM would have solved it too, because you would have looked at the logs there. Endpoint security protection analysis would have solved it. I'm less of a fan in this scenario for it, but they're saying that the EDR would have probably discovered that there's multiple login attempts. Yeah, because most likely, yeah, he's probably going to automate the password spray to run it more efficiently at least. So most likely there's activity around that. But the top three, I would say, are the more indicators that you would see it more clearly. The last one is based on how they're triggering the password spray.
For that top one, can you kind of go in a little bit of detail on how we kind of found them?
The user and entity behavior analytics. So how would you find them?
How it would help like detect?
So At the core, this is really looking at, and then maybe I can pull up the card at the same time. Um, it's looking at user logs based around like login activity, user activity. So if you're looking at like, I don't know, like Entra or for like with Microsoft or Okta, like kind of just, what manages your users. From there, you're going to look at the user activity and you're going to see that, that user account is attempting to log into a lot of applications.
Okay.
So that would help you say like, that's kind of weird. All his logs are saying trying to log into X application, or like this application, and then
Well,
That goes.
yeah, yeah.
The users.
And they might be, but in this scenario, they could be all successful because we're saying like it sounds like his account had access to a lot of other things from those credentials. So you may see like, why is now, and we know there's a compromise. Why are you seeing like 100 rows of a bunch of things getting hit as login successful, login successful, login successful, or login failure for some of them? So like a mix of just logins back to back. That would definitely say like, yeah, there's something like there's no way a user just all of a sudden decides to log into like 50 different applications for no reason. Like, I mean, you might, log into one, two, or three, but within a short, and that's another decision you'd make within like, let's say a 2 hour window, you see 50 different application login attempts. That is definitely them trying to pivot to another application via internal password spray.
And that would definitely send off an alarm, like, hey, this.
Essentially, it just depends on how your environment's set up. And that's where this game is fantastic as well, because it's like, okay, now because when you have an incident, obviously you start thinking of these things, and then you have after like action items that like, oh wait, that didn't detect it, so maybe we need to start implementing that. Like for my organization, we recently implemented like a boatload of stuff because of an incident, and it's changing the entire organization and how it behaves. So like, which is fantastic. But if we ran maybe a similar incident that happened, which it hadn't happened to us before, but we ran it as a tabletop exercise, maybe we would have discovered, oh, maybe we should implement some of these things. We didn't have a need to in the past until recently, until we got hit, and then so now we're like, oh, there's all these things that like maybe it's time to lock it down. Part of it is just increased leadership buy-in. It's things that we wanted to, it's things that were just more drastic that leadership wasn't okay with. Now they're okay with. So sometimes it's that, but all of this really helps you see like, man, crap, if we do get this type of attack, we don't have anything to detect this. We don't have anything to even, let us know that this happened. So like that's where it prompts good discussions. But yeah, that's uh that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully I appreciate the extra time you guys all spent.